In today's beginner Deadlock guide, we'll be going over how to improve your game sense. Now, what is game sense, some might ask? It is just basic knowledge of what to do in some situations in the game. We'll be going over map knowledge, what to build, when to build, laning tips, being able to read the opponents, understand the positioning and fighting, and your mid to late game strategy. But with that all out the way, let's hop right into the video. Starting off with map knowledge. Now, your map is one of the most important things in the game, and everyone will tell you to look at it, but they'll tell you what to look out for. Now, I highly recommend you look at the map every 3 to 10 seconds, as it's best to have the most information at all times. Things you should be looking for are stuff like ganks. When your lane's pushed up and you know the enemy's not fed, you should look at what lanes you can look to help immediately and what free kills you can get. It's also good when pushing a lane by yourself or split pushing and understanding where the enemies might be so you don't get caught out. As oftentimes in this game, when there's more than 1 or 2 enemies, that leads to you feeding and leads to you being down and leading to you not being able to help your team. And it's also good because it helps you know when it's time to leave, or when most of the enemy is occupied, so you can maybe get another objective like a guardian or a walker. And if you're a solo queue player, these tips are going to matter a lot more at the end of the day. So I highly recommend you be looking at the map for ganks, enemy's position, and split pushing potential. Now we're going to move into what to build and when to build. Now in a laning phase, you're going to be in a mixture of either winning, losing, or kind of both. And if you're winning lane, you should look to build your strengths early so you can keep dominating your lane. But if you're losing, you're gonna have to understand you're gonna have to build your sustain first, more so your defensive items. And if it's kind of going back and forth, you kind of want to have both on you. But now moving into later in the game, there are some items that you should know just for the counter's sake. Now, if there's a marksman like Haze or Wraith who's doing a lot of bullet damage, you're going to look to build bullet vest, as it can immune you from it immunes you from bullet damage for a set duration. I think it's like 6 seconds off the top of my head. If a character's ultimate is constantly annoying and it's in the early stages of this game, you're going to want to look for knockdown. And if you're a squishy who's constantly being targeted in the backline, I'm going to have to highly recommend a rebirth. Moving into laning tips, you're often going to position yourself a lot closer to the minions, as if you're not able to execute them, the souls will fly away and the person who's closer will most likely get the chance, as the game's bullet velocity dictates who gets the execute most of the time. But in most scenarios, you're going to be wanting to look to execute the minions so you don't give your opponent any chances to steal your souls, as early game souls tend to dictate the outcome of the lane a lot more frequently. If you're looking to apply more pressure or have a better chance at applying pressure in your lane, look for the enemy's healer minion. Killing that as your first target will heavily put pressure on their lane and damage their sustain. Now we're going to be going into reading your opponents. At the 3k soul marker, your opponent will be getting ults, which is very important for definitely the end part of laning phase, as it can always lead to easy kills if you're not paying attention. When engaging on the enemy or split pushing by yourself, it's also good to look at your matchup to see if their ult bar is filled, to know if you have an easier chance at winning or if you should retreat and wait for your teammates. Understanding what your opponent wants to do in most situations is definitely going to come with time and just overall playing the game. So if it's someone like if it's a lady, guys, often with time they're going to look to get close, to often switch health bars with you, so I recommend definitely waiting for your teammates to fight her, unless you're a character who can pick her off from range. If you're someone like Bebop, you're going to easily want to stay out of range so you don't get hooked in. If it's someone like Abraham, you're definitely not going to fight up close. But these are just certain things that these guys are going to play into. Now we have positioning and fighting and understanding your role. So this is another tip that's definitely had to come with time, but knowing what your character is strong in is going to definitely help in team fights. Now, like I said, if you're going to be a more tankier fellow like Kelvin, Abrams, or even Bebop, you're going to want to look to be in the front of the team most of the time, as you're going to be the person who's engaging, often setting up plays, and often starting off fights. But if you're a character who's more of like a marksman, you're going to want to be in the middle to make sure you can still get that consistent damage and your damage fall off is not too hard. Or if you're going to be someone who's more of like an assassin playstyle like Yamato, or what's the other guy? I forgot his name. The guy who runs with the shotgun. I can't think of his name right now, but you know what I'm talking about. These guys are going to often look off to pick off your weaker characters or your marksmen. Now, where these people position is going to be really crucial to how the team fight plays out. And if you know this and know where you should be positioning, you can also look where the enemy's out of position. So say one of their marksmen comes too close to the front, you can tell your team, hey, let's look to damage this person or engage in this person. This definitely matters a lot if you're someone who's an initiator, because depending on who you initiate on can start the fight off in a really good way or a very bad way. Like say you're Abraham or lash, and you see like, oh look, their marksman's out of position, or look, the Yamato's out of position, and you can start the fight off with diving on them right away. Maybe not Yamato because their ultimate will keep her alive, but another squishy in the back line, that's a free kill and an easier team fight. Now moving into the last bit of the video, we have the mid to late game strategy. Now these are some guidelines that are not law, but just good to follow in order, or just good to follow in case you're ever lost during the mid to late game. So obviously pushing lanes is going to have its benefit, as minions will often crash towards the enemy walkers or guardians and take them out over time without you even being there. And it's also good to have that consistent income to collect those souls. So when you push a lane, you don't have to go all the way down the lane. Just push it, rotate your team, help them out for objectives or team fights. We got stealing camps. Now if your team's really far ahead, you want to help push that advantage by making sure you're stealing the enemy team's revenue. Don't let them have their camps, steal that. Don't give them a chance to get back in the game. Looking for enemies that are caught out too, so this comes back with map knowledge. If you see someone in a split pushing too far in the left lane, and you're in a call with someone, or you can just ping it on the map like, hey, this guy's out, let's get him. That's some free souls. And then you could push it. You could push any objective with that small advantage of an enemy or two down. Taking mid boss is going to be very hard to do in solo queue because it's very hard to call out, but it's definitely going to be a very crucial thing to help you end the game a lot faster. So after maybe three or more people are dead, I say push it. I usually like to do it safer in solo queue if the whole team fight is won, or if you end up losing a team fight and you end up playing a risky play, you can end up leaving. Say you see the team fight's losing, leaving during a failed team fight, and you know the enemy's gonna try to take it. You could just sneak in at the end and try to steal it as some type of last ditch enter. Often, you'll be surprised how often it works. And one of my last mid to late game strategies is split pushing. People don't know how broken split pushing is. I have single-handedly won games uber negative by split pushing my teammates, or not split pushing my teammates, split pushing my enemies to hell, especially with characters who are on marksman, or if you're playing, what's their name, Ivy, with their high fire rate damage, you will tear through objectives. Never let up. If you're in a losing situation and you're solo queued, split pushing can be one of the best weapons in your kit to overall win the game. And that's going to do it for my beginner guide to GameSense. Now I'll probably have an advanced guide later on. But if you enjoyed what you saw today, or maybe learned something new, maybe like the video, comment, like, subscribe are always appreciated. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a good, wonderful rest of your day.